Alright guys, welcome back to Death from Above 40k and welcome back to the channel. It's time for a bit of a tactics talk. So the reason I'm doing this video is I've had a lot of people on my channel have watched my battle reports with this Space Wolf army, and they've said that it's a very strange sort of setup and they wanted some sort of feedback on what the ideas was behind it and why I've decided to run it this way. And I can see why you would think it is a strange thing, because yeah, there's no troops and all that sort of stuff and that. So we'll go through it and break it down. While I'm on this, I've also, if you want to support the channel a little bit further and try and assist me to get more videos out, I've got a Patreon channel now. It's linked in the banner on my YouTube page. If you want to go on there, come join in, try and help build a bigger community. Alright, now that I got that out of the way, let's break the army down. So this comes in at 1250 points, which is, I'm still growing at the moment. And no, there is not going to be any troops in this army, so not much is going to change moving forward. So in it, there is 1, 2, 3 HQs. One of them's Bjorn the Fell-Handed, one of them's Logan Grimnar on his sled, and the other one is Wolfguard Battle Leader with the jump pack. Then we've also got Thunderwolves, we've got a Wulfen Dreadnought, and then we've got a pack of long Fangs. And then we've got the first unit that will be more of Wolfguard. So I'm sort of calling it the King's Guard. That's what this sort of thing is. So all sorts of elite and older stuff that the Space Wolves use in like real dire sort of battles. So they're heavy hitters as such. So not just your grey hunters and your packs of wolves and all that sort of stuff. I just wanted the cool stuff that would protect Logan Grimnar. Alright, so what we'll do now is I'm going to go through the units that I've used, show you why I've chosen them, and go through some of the stratagems and tactics behind them. Alright, let's start with the big guy himself. So, I don't know if I need to explain to anyone why this guy's in the list. It's Logan Grimnar. If anyone knows anything about Space Wolves, he's a chapter master. It's pretty much that simple. The only question is, do you take him on foot or do you take him in Storm Rider? I personally love the model. So, Storm Rider it was. We sort of bring him up here. It's just such a cool, iconic thing. Look at it. And then the model in the back. I've glued mine in. He's destined to stay in there. He's never coming out. Alright, so, how do I use it on the battlefield? Well, there's a few things that he gives. Chapter Master gives rerolls. That's a given. He is fast on Storm Rider, and he gets extra attacks from the wolves. These are some things. A lot of people have said, you know, he's slows down. Yeah, that's true, but even at his slowest profile, he's pretty much at Terminator speed anyway, because the only thing that actually loses anything as his tiers go down is his movement, the wolves, and the wolves' attacks. So Logan himself doesn't actually diminish at all. And he's quite beastly with his axe. He does 5 attacks, pretty much as a Thunder Hammer, or he does 5 attacks at, I think it's Strength 6, AP and D3, so more of a horde clearing thing. One is at neg 1 to hit, so you can either have the full rerolls, because obviously the rolls are done afterwards. It's not as good, but it's okay. If you want to hit something with it, he's pretty good at hitting it. And you got to remember, on the turn he charges, he gets +1 anyway, so he's hitting on 2s, rerolling 1s. And you always want to be charging it. Space Wolves. It's like the ABCs of Blood Angels, but with Space Wolves. So he's got his Storm Bolter, so he's not much for shooting. And while he's at his top profile, he gets 6 extra attacks for these guys. And they're pretty much a Storm Bolter in close combat. So Strength 5, AP 1. Yeah, it's pretty decent at helping him clear things out while he's hitting things really hard with his hammer. So pretty much in the army, he gives rerolls. With his Sergeant Majesty, if you want to take that Warlord trait, his reroll bubble goes up to 9 inches. That's pretty good. So I like him, that's what he does. Hits like a ton of bricks. You got to remember while he's in this as well, he goes up to toughness 6, which is much better. He still keeps his 2 up save. He's got a 4 up in vulnerable and he has 12 wounds. So he's pretty hefty. So if someone wants to shoot him, put all their firepower into him, have at it. Like, it's, you know, if they choose to shoot something else, then they face him. So it's a bit of a yin and yang. Alright, so that's why I've chosen to put him in there. Mainly the model, it's Logan Grimnar, and he also hits like a beat stick. Alright, move on to the next things. Alright, so here are the 2 HQ choices, and also this gives us another command point because it's a Supreme Command detachment. So overall this whole army has 5 command points with Bjorn, because he gives it another one as well. So it's not a lot, but I only need a couple because of the redundancy of rerolls already in it. Now, Bjorn, if you are running Space Wolves, this guy is a must take. I run him this way with the Twin Lads because I think just having long range anti-tank, it helps him support the long fangs. Then I give him the Flamer for up close, and his True Claw is a beat stick. Now you guys got to take into account, this Dreadnought is a toughness 8 Dreadnought. So he's Lemaine Russ, or Lemon Russ, or however you want to say it, battle tank with, you know, in toughness. He's also got Feel No Pain. So that's brilliant. So you've got tough 8 wounds, 3+ save, and he's got Feel No Pain. So he's really hardy, he sticks around. You really got to put some shots into him to get rid of him. You got to remember too, he's a character under 10 wounds, so the enemy cannot target him. So he's humming along, shooting at things, blowing things away, burning things. And this True Claw is Strength 12, AP 4, D6 damage. And now it's 5 attacks, rerolls hits and rerolls wounds. Whatever he's swinging that thing at is dying. You got to have some serious invuln saves or something to withstand him. If you don't have an invuln save, well, just doesn't matter. You can be wearing bloody any suit of armor, even if it's a 2-up, and you're saving on a 6-up, so it's pretty devastating. He gives an extra command point too for being so old and cool. And yeah, he's just generally really good support. He also gives reroll 1s like a captain would. So having Logan and him in the army, they both give a lot of rerolls. You can spread them out, and the army's got a lot of rerolls. That's what I was talking about not needing a lot of command points because of the redundancy in rerolls. And he's just generally a cool badass model. There's a lot of different versions of him. You can really play with him with the kit and make different things out of it. Alright, and the third and final is a Wolfguard Battle Leader. I've given him a Frostblade and Storm Shield. The reason I've given him the Frostblade is A, it's a cool Space Wolves sword. It's the best of both worlds when it comes to power weapons, because it's strength +1, so strength 5, but it's AP 3. You can also take the relic if you want. That is a really, you know, that's like re-rolling wounds and stuff like that. I think it's called the Kraken Bone Sword. I don't take that, but yeah. So this guy comes in really cheap. What he does is he gives me my re-roll 1s to wound, obviously. So once again, that's that redundancy in not needing a heap of command points because you've got the re-rolls already built into your army. All right. So what does he do? I make him the Warlord, and I give him the Wulfen Stone. So everything around him's getting an extra attack. And I give him Saga Wolfkin so that when he charges, he gets an extra attack. Now also when you kill 5 enemies, usually just aim him at chaff, then he gives it a bubble of that. So everyone that charges is getting that extra attack, plus his Wulfen Stone. So if you can manage to get that off and maneuver him round, you're going to get a heap of extra attacks out of your army, which with the low model count helps with the mileage. So he's pretty cool. He's you can use him. He doesn't have to be a Wolfguard Battle Leader either. This can just be a Wolf Lord if you want. That's how I have him. Look, in the future as well, to be honest, I'm probably going to change that to a Thunderhammer, but for now that is what it is. So there's a bit more of the redundancy. So we've got in each of our HQs, they all have a specific role to play with rerolls to wound, giving extra attacks. And Bjorn's also long-range fire support. So with the 3 of them working together makes a smaller army more unified. Alright, we'll go on to what's in the list next. Alright, so now we're on to the elites part of the army. Because as I said, we don't have any troops. So, one of the coolest models, and I love it because Dreadnoughts are such an iconic thing, and any army that sort of buffs them up is just cool. And this is definitely a cool model. So, this is called a Wulfen Dreadnought. You can take him as a Venerable Dreadnought or anything, but I run it as a Wulfen Dreadnought. That's specifically what he is in my list. And he is performed outstandingly in every battle that I've used him in. There's a few reasons for it. So he comes with a standard 4 attacks, which is really nice. Oh, big thing too, shield gives him a 4-up invuln. So you got a toughness 7, 8 wounds, and you've also got an invulnerable save of 4. That makes an already tough enough to kill Dreadnought vehicle tougher again. People whinged when it went from a 3 to a 4. I think a 4 is respectable because it's on such a tough model already. We can't be going too crazy with that sort of stuff. Now his axe. It's either strength 10, AP 3, D6 damage with them 4 hits, and that's at a neg 1 to hit. But you got to remember with the Space Wolf special rule, when you charge, you get +1 to hit. So that's not bad. So he's hitting on 3s on the charge with this whopping weapon. So if you got to take something hefty down, use that. Where I found him even more handy is when he charges in with this axe. You can use the Scythe mode, I think it's called. You double the amount of attacks, so he gets 8 attacks. It's at strength 6. It's still AP 3, but 1 damage. But when he charges with that mode, he's hitting on 2s, re-rolling 1. So pretty much all your hits are going through. Then most things you're wounding on a 3 troops-wise. Things like orcs and stuff like that, you can just clear him out. So he's not like a normal Dreadnought where he's getting bogged down in that combat. You can also give him Heavy Flamer if you want to reduce a few of them. If I got the points, which some games I do, depending on how I arm things, I'll give him that Heavy Flamer, because then the first turn, run him up, flame stuff. You got to remember this guy moves 8 inches as well, so he's faster than a normal Dreadnought. People underestimate how fast 8 inches is, especially rolling your D6 and adding it to it. He can get up to 14 inches on the first turn, which if you've watched some of the battle reports I've done, so he's gone from center field to across into the enemy deployment zone and punching on with big things. So brilliant model. He's only 135 points as well, so I'm looking at getting more for sure. Running 3 of them would be something I would definitely do. Alright, next is my Wolf Guard, which I've got more Wolf Guard on the way as well, armed in different manners, but I'm not going to talk about them today. I'm just going to talk about this unit today. So, the leader, he's got dual frost claws. So this guy is pumping out 4 attacks, strength 5, AP 2, 1 damage. So he's essentially pumping out like captain stat attacks, which is pretty good for the leader of a group. Now, also in the group, I've done one guy here with a fist and another guy here with a fist for some extra punch. I believe putting fists and hammers on things are really good in this army because of the +1 hit. And then I've just taken 2 with the chainswords. These guys, by the way, were really fun to pose up and make the bases and everything for. Still got to put a bit of snow on these guys, so I apologise about that. Here's another guy. Alright, now this unit is, 4 of them also have storm shields. It's only 2 points to put a storm shield on them. So why not? That's a 3-up invuln. So you can use these for a lot of things if you watch my battle report. Some of them I started them on the field, some of them I dropped them down, depending on what you're trying to do with the enemy. Now, when they're near the Wulfen Stone, they all get an extra attack. Now these guys get a base of 2 attacks because they're veterans. The guys with the chainswords get an extra attack, so they're on 3. This guy starts with 3 and then with the Wolf Claws gets an extra 1. So then with the Wulfen Stone gets 5. So you see what's happening here. By having the Wolf Guard battle leader with the Wulfen Stone, you're pumping these guys' attacks up. So hitting on 2s, re-rolling 1s with most weapons, power fists not so much. You really run in and do some damage. Probably wouldn't hurt to bump these guys up to 10 to be honest, but I'd probably go 2 5-man units just for mobility. But not having any Primaris or anything in the list, I'm going with Wolf Guard because I think Wolf Guard are better than Primaris. There it is, I've said it. Alright, it's out there. So they're the 2 elites choices. So we'll go on to the last 2 units of the army and we'll get through that. Alright, and here's my last 2 units in the army. So we've got a fast attack, which is Thunderwolf Cav, and then we've got a heavy support, which is my Long Fangs. I talked a little bit about the Long Fangs in the last video, tactics video, which is up on the channel when I was starting this army, but I've learned a little bit more about them, so I'll go back over them. So, first we'll start with these guys. So Thunderwolf Cav. A lot of people say take Wulfen instead, but I just love these models. It's a Space Marine on a Giant Wolf. So I run the pack leader. He's got a hammer and a shield. And then the other 2 guys have got Wolf Claw and shield. I've took a bit of time to dynamically pose these, get them looking really cool. Like, such cool models. That's one thing. When you're collecting Space Wolves, you are collecting cool models. So, how do I use them? Obviously, they're fast. Most of this army's fast, as you probably noticed. They run up usually supporting Logan and Bjorn. And also the jump pack guys, like the Wolf Guard. These guys hit pretty hard if I keep them near the Wulfen Stone. So that means that the Marines on the back all get an extra attack. Then obviously if I can get off his saga, they get an extra attack again. Some people say go all Thunder Hammers. I don't know. People complain about the Storm Shield being 10 points. I think it's worth it. Because because they're toughness 5, they've got 3 wounds apiece, and having a 3 up in Von, you're sort of up in that custodes area then of like toughness and resilience. You don't get the 2 up save, but hey, can't have everything. Now, these guys get the 2 separate, so it's a bit of like Age of Sigmar, how you mount and you rider now gets 2 different attacks. So the guys on the back are veterans, so they get 2 attacks each. The leader of the group, this guy gets 3, that's why I give him the Thunder Hammer, because he gets the +1 to hit. So he's getting, without any support, 3 attacks hitting on 3s on the charge, which is pretty good. Then with Logan around and the other guys are getting rerolls to hit, rerolls to wound, plus extra attacks. The other guys have got their Frost Claws, which makes them strength 6 on the back of these things, with full reroll of wounds. So with reroll hits from Logan, which they're hitting on 2s when they charge, and the full rerolls. Once again, I keep saying it, but this is why you don't need so many command points, because of the built-in redundancy of rerolls. Now each wolf gets 3 attacks each. Now obviously with the Wulfen Stone and the Saga going off again, that can bounce from 9 attacks up to 15 attacks. And same as Logan Grimnar, they're like a heavy boulder. Strength 5 AP 1 damage. That can't be underestimated. People say that it's not very good, but then they go and pack a heap of heavy boulders into their army. It's the same statistic, it's just in combat as opposed to long range shooting. So it's extra attacks on top of your marine. So it's really good for helping clear out chaff. And strength 5, nothing's usually over toughness 8, so no matter what in the game, you're going to wound it on a 5 up. And you've got reroll 1s to wounds because the other guy got rerolls to hits, so the redundancy of your dice coming through at the end are really good. And most vehicles are 3 up, so you're pushing them to a 4 up, or whatever it is you're fighting. It's just good to have that extra bunch of AP 1 hits on them, and they're pretty fast. I'm not going to argue that they're better or worse than Wulfen. I just believe it's a rule of cool choice for me. I prefer these. That's what I've gone with. However, if you watch a battle report, my mate ran a heap of Wulfen on and just tore through a heap of my Death Guard. But that's a story for another day. Alright, so then moving along on to the last unit, probably one of the most key integral units in there is the Long Fangs, which I've built and dedicated them around the fluff. They oversee the battlefield, they watch everyone else, and they fire upon targets that need to be destroyed. So in here I've got 2 las cannons, 1 on each end, 3 with rockets, this guy with the Cyclone missile launcher and Storm Bolter. He's got a Wolf's Claw. I don't know if that's optimal. We'll see. May just swap that out for a shield later on down the track. But I think it's, for me, it's cooler with him having the Wolf Claw. Then we've got the other guy in there as well. He's just a Gumby or your other pack leader. So with this, the things that I've learned is I probably eventually want to change those 2 las cannons for rockets. People say it's controversial, but 7 rockets firing out, you should be able to deal with any vehicle anyway. And then it also gives me the flexibility if I'm fighting a horde army of having massed strength 4 hits, because it'll be 7d6 worth of shots, so a potential bucket load of dice. So I've found when I'm fighting stuff that doesn't have vehicle heavy, the 2 las cannons sort of redundant. But between them 2 and Bjorn, it gives me 4 las cannons in the army in case I suppose I fight at night or something. I don't know how this will go against knights, but that's another story. So the 2 things that have come in really handy is, one that I've found is called Keen Sensors. If you run Long Fangs, use this stratagem. It's 1 command point, and when you use this stratagem, choose a Space Wolf unit from your army. The unit does not suffer any penalties to its hit rolls for this phase. That is super powerful. So when you're fighting things like Eldar, all these armies, Space Marine armies with neg 1 to hit outside of 12 and all this thing, that just goes away. You're just hitting at your full ballistic skill. Now you've got to take into account that these guys have an automatic reroll 1. They don't need to be near Logan. That's just part of their being a Long Fang. They get reroll 1s to hit on a certain target they choose. So as long as you don't split fire, which I would just split fire. You can if you want, it's up to you. But yeah, so you're already getting a reroll 1. Then there's a second stratagem called the Wolf's Eye, which allows you to either reroll hits or reroll wounds. So I've used it in a few battle reports where I used it against the Orcs to shoot down one of their planes because I really wanted to get it out of my lines. I've used it in another one to blow up Necron vehicles, other Dreadnoughts. Pretty much what you can do is for 2 command points, they already get the reroll 1s to hit. If they're near Logan, it's a full reroll. Then you can pay the command point for the Wolf's Eye, then you get reroll wounds, and then you've got Keen Sensors, which takes away the negatives. So you're hitting on 3s rerolling, a lot of things you're wounding on 3s rerolling with no negatives. So if you're struggling against things like elder flies and all that sort of stuff, get your keen sensors out and just blow it out of its socks. The enemy will be like, what the hell is that? One command point, get into it, get around it, it's something we've got, utilise it. And it just says Wolfguard unit, so you know, you could use that on Hellblasters and stuff, but I've chosen to go with this. So that's the new thing I've learned with these guys. Alright, so that's all the units in the list and what they do. So I'll go a quick summation of the entire army, and then, yeah. Alright guys, now that I've gone through it unit by unit, here's the army back together again, and looking in force, so as I said, it's 1250, comes in at 5 command points. It's a brief overview of how I run it. So as I've said, Long Fangs sitting way up the back, ready to eliminate things. Have Bjorn up there in the first turn to support him with his las cannon fire. Also defend against things dropping down. Remember, Bjorn moves 8 as well, so he can sit back there with him, then move forward. You've got the Thunderwolf, the Wulfen Dreadnought, and everything else moving towards what you want to kill. Remember, using the Wulfen Stone, you want everything sort of packed in so you're getting those extra attacks. So I always play a rule of thumb with my armies, use everything to attack a unit till that unit is dead, then move on to the next unit or whatever's left over, start attacking the next unit. I'm not a believer in split firing at all. So if there's a Land Raider, it'll be shot at first with Bjorn and the Long Fangs, then I'll attempt to charge it with everything in the army until that Land Raider is smoked if that is the designated threat. And then I'll move on to the next thing. So select what your target is, hit it with everything you got, and move forward. Now remember, everything in this army, besides the Long Fangs, moves at a minimum of 8. So he moves 8, both Dreadnoughts move 8, these guys move 10, these guys move 12, 12, and Logan's up there too with 12-inch move to start with. Or it could be, sorry, it's 10-inch movement, my bad, before you correct me. So everything's moving fast while having that support fire. Rerolls built in. The 5 command points that I've got are usually used on the Long Fangs to get off those 2 stratagems for the rerolls to wound and then taking away the next to hit. Usually you only need 1 or 2 good rounds with them and that's it. Nothing else really needs command points as far as this army goes. The only other thing I probably would use it on, which I've used in 1 battle report so far, is I turned this guy into a lone wolf. Now, a Terminator running around with Cyclone Rack on his back and all that, he upgraded to a lone wolf. He's hilarious and brutal. So that's the list. It is a funny looking list, but that's how it is. So if you like this stuff, like and subscribe. And as I said, check out my Patreon page if you want to support. If not, don't do it. And I hope you have a fantastic day. All right.